Good morning, YouTube. Sean here. Welcome to my channel. It's all good. And today, I am taking you to a very special place called Crum Henge. Now, Crum Henge is on Crum Creek, surprise, surprise, in a town called Swarthmore, PA. And Swarthmore is my hometown, so I happen to know a lot about this place. And I actually grew up coming to Crumhenge and playing in these woods. I've walked down this trail more times than I can remember. And today I'm going to show it to you. Now, just to give you a brief orientation here, Crum, like the other places I've been visiting, Crum Henge is situated in a field that was the site of an old Native American village. And in fact, the entire trail system here, or the entire creek, Crum Creek, was full of villages up and down the creek. And when the Swedes settled, Crum Creek empties into the Delaware River. It meets the Delaware, I believe, down in Chester, the city of Chester. And it's, oh, there's a fox. Oh my goodness. Nah, it's gone. Well, that's a fox, so we'll see if we see any birds. Yeah, so the creek empties at Chester, and it empties into the Delaware at Chester. And when the Swedes found it, they named it Crum Kill, and kill means river or creek in Old Swedish. I actually think kill is Dutch or Belgian, Dutch. So it might have been the Dutch that named it that. In any case, Crum is either the name of a person or it means like crooked, I've heard. Not sure exactly, but anyway, obviously for a time, hundreds of years, this place wasn't really populated. And then the town of Swarthmore was founded in the late 1800s. The college was built, and this place became part of an arboretum that is now coextensive with Swarthmore College. So I just walked down a trail, and now I'm coming to one of the parts of the arboretum that I can't tell you how many memories I have here. I'll just stop here and show you what I'm looking at. This is the holly tree grove on the slope above the Crum Woods. And I have grown up here playing capture the flag when I was a kid in these trees. I've had first kisses in these trees. I've used to come here to read books. I've had picnics, played all sorts of games. When I was older, I would sneak down here to imbibe intoxicants. And I know that I've also done field work here with biologists at the college. And I've seen this area change many times. So, and like for instance, wow, look at this tree. When I was a kid, that tree right there, this was the tree where when you were running around in the holly grove, the teachers would always say, meet us at the bottom tree, right? And it's a cedar tree. So they would always say, meet us at the cedar. And it's notable because all the other trees behind me, they're all holly trees. So it's the only cedar tree. Now, one of the cool things about the trees down here, and we're at the bottom up on Crum Henge, but all the trees are labeled on Swarthmore College campus. So if you want to know what tree you're looking at, you can just walk up to it and see what it says. And that's very handy if you're a tree person like I am. And it's one of the reasons I've grown up appreciating nature and appreciating trees, is that on this campus, every tree is labeled. And I've grown up to appreciate trees and gardening, and that was a major influence. Now, I don't know much about the Native Americans who lived down here, but I'll give you a quick orientation, and then I'll tell you about the one story I do know, okay? So we're coming up on Crum Henge here, and it looks really different. Oh my goodness. Okay, look at all this grass. Honestly, this grass usually isn't this tall. Now, that is the train trestle. And the train trestle was rebuilt a few years ago, maybe almost 5, I think it was before the pandemic. And there's a bird. I see it already. Let's see if I can. It's a red-tailed hawk. And it's in that tree. Very difficult to see. We'll see if I can get closer to it. But in any case, that train trestle used to be built out of stone. And when I was in my 20s, I was very into rock climbing. And I traveled around looking for rock climbing spots. And the train trestle was a great place to go bouldering. I'm actually going to flip the camera around to reveal that out of the grass rises stone, or a Crum Henge. And look at this. They've really rearranged it since I was a kid. I mean, presumably when they built the train trestle, they needed this space for construction. I kind of remember that. So they probably removed and then replaced some of these stones, because this is very well organized compared to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, these stones were just sort of willy-nilly lying all over the place. No doubt moved around by college kids. And that really is the main reason, the main use of this henge is by college kids who, they come down here and they, when the term ends, when the term begins, during the year, whenever they want to celebrate, they have bonfires in this pit, and they have big parties down here in the woods. And when I was a teenager, people in my high school would routinely try to come down here and crash college kids having parties in these woods. And yeah, I know quite a few who were successful. Won't name names, but a lot of kids from my high school got into these parties with the college kids. And I'm looking for that hawk, but I don't. Oh yeah, I do see it. I mean, we got to pay our respects to the ancients, right? The bird is here to say hello to us, so let's pay it respects. I'm gonna try to zoom in. Let's see how good there it is. It's that little white blip sitting on that branch right in the center of my camera. So we are being watched over. And I guess that's a good enough time as any to tell you the one story that I know about this area. Many interesting things have happened here at Crum Henge. I'm going to walk over to the creek because that's more my style. Many interesting things have happened here. You can talk to old Swarthmorians who can tell you all sorts of things. People further down the creek, there's a big dam, and people used to go skiing or ice skating there in the wintertime. Apparently in the 1960s, if anyone knows about Ken Kesey and the acid test, apparently Ken Kesey and his bus full of acid freaks came down here and did an acid test on the college campus. And they did it right here in the Henge. Or, well, so the Henge, it's actually not that old. The Henge is, I think it was like from the 80s, 1980s. It was installed. So before that, it didn't exist. But there's this field has always been here, I think. I'm pretty sure. And so they kind of drove down. This is the legend. That Ken Kesey drove the bus down and parked it here, and then gave out acid to all the people that passed by, right? And at that time he was pretty famous, so I'm sure he had a lot of takers. Who doesn't want to do acid with Ken Kesey in the 1960s? That would have been, what a time to be alive, right? So that's one story, but one of the more famous stories from the natives, tribes that lived here, is that they used to migrate around. They used to move around, especially after this place was colonized. One of the first families to settle in Swarthmore was the West family, and I don't remember too much about who the West family was, but their son, Benjamin West, is one of the greatest American painters of his era. He painted beautiful portraits and ended up back in England because he was so good. They recalled him from the colonies. Or maybe that was his choice. I don't remember the exact story, but he went to England to paint pictures for rich people and became very famous. And he's from Swarthmore. And the story is that when he was a kid, he wanted to impress his mom, who he loved, by drawing a picture for her. And he didn't go to school or anything. He didn't know how to read or write, or maybe he did. I actually don't know that part specifically, but I know that he was unschooled. And the West family had a big house up on college campus, which it's still there. It's the admissions office at the college. And I'm walking back past the cedar, and then we're gonna go down to the other end of this open area. And so Benjamin West would hang out in these woods as well, and apparently the Native Americans taught him how to make different pigments from the stones and materials in the creek. So he would come down, presumably to this area or of the creek, with the Native Americans as a child, and they taught him to make pigments, which he then used in his painting. And that was very, this is one of those things that who knows if it's really true. We just kind of have to take their word for it. It's a bit of a legend, right? If you look at Benjamin West's paintings, I'm no art historian, but they're pretty good. Like even the early ones, right? So it's sort of like, maybe he was a genius. Maybe he was, a child. What do you call a child? A prodigy. But I'm a little skeptical that he didn't get any help learning. But in any case, so my point is, it could be a story that he told as part of his brand, right? To build his legend. I don't know. All I do know is that there were indeed Native Americans here, and they may or may not have taught him to build or to make pigments. Okay, so that's the main story I know about this place. If you know other stories, any local Swarthmoreans or other people that know about the history of these woods, please do leave a comment in the comment section, and I will follow up. And this is my home turf, so I'll be back. It's only a matter of time. I like to come walking here a lot, so this won't be the only video I film down here, and there are many other spots. This is Crum Henge. Honestly, Crum Henge isn't even my favorite spot in these woods. It's just the most famous spot, but I'll come back in the spring when there isn't, when, like, you know, look at all the ice. It's you know, I'll come back in the spring when there isn't so much ice, and then we can wow, they really, like, I'm just looking around, things change, right? Like this path across the creek, that wasn't there when I was growing up. That's all new. And what I'm trying to do is find a rock that I used to climb up all the time. And there was a trail by the rocks, so let me see if I can find that. But yeah, I'll come back and we'll do another video with a better history of this place. There are rock outcroppings further along in the woods, and in the streams down here you can absolutely find fine china, fine white china that the settlers used to chuck in the stream when they were done. And I'd like to look around and find it. I mean, I've found huge chunks before. One time, in fact, I think like 2 years ago, I found like literally half or a quarter of an old mug. I think it was, maybe it was like a teacup, and it was beautiful. It was white china with blue coloring, blue dye. But I wanted to show you this scene. I'll leave you with this, just to explain, like, kind of some of the fun things. So you see that rock up in the middle of the woods? That's been there for eons, right? And the natives absolutely would have known about this rock and probably camped under it or around it. Who knows? I'm sure in the past, people, Native Americans and many, many other people, including myself, have climbed that rock and stood on top of it looking out over Crum Creek. And then farther up at the top there is an experimental tiny home, and presumably someone lives in it right now. It's sort of like an artist's retreat, and it's this wonky, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, see that up there? It's like it's an architectural experiment, okay? So that's kind of interesting too. But it's all modern, not super. So we're not going to spend too much more time on it. I just want to, but I wanted to show you it. There's some interesting things. I'm sure there's something more interesting to say about the architect who built that little tiny home. Whoever you are, it looks cool. And yeah, so that's the Crum Woods. I'm going to go back to my car because it's very cold out. I think it's like 25 degrees, 23 degrees right now. And we'll do another round. So if you like what I'm doing, you appreciate the history I'm trying to share with you in this video and others, please, you know, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'll do more hidden Delco spots, especially spots like this where the natives had such a large presence. And you know, the Crum Creek really was covered in villages. When I say that, I mean it was filled. Like right behind me would have been wigwams, probably. That whole field would have been full of wigwams. Across the way here would have been filled with wigwams. And I've looked for artifacts. I've never found any. Because I think the banks here have been thoroughly reworked many times over the years. So yeah, but this is another one of those ancient places in Delaware County.